Hey, everybody, and welcome to another installment, yet another. I'm going to say, instead of edition, I'm going to say adventure
All
today
right. All
on
right.
on Work Your Career Wednesday. Everybody, I have an amazing guest today. Albert Hardin is incredible, and we're going to get to you in a minute. But if you wouldn't mind, Albert, we're going to pay some bills real quick, and feel free to jump in on this because
Absolutely.
I tell you, it's pretty amazing. So let's get started with first, if you have anything, everything, and what's another word for everything or anything?
All.
All, all projects relating to video that you want documented. It can be a podcast, it can be a music video, and we're going to get into music videos and the music business and different that today. If it's like I said, a commercial, a conference even, and get this, Albert, we're getting into audiobooks. Can you
Okay.
believe it?
That's good. You got to connect
So
with Koopy.
oh, we'll talk about that in a minute. Get in contact with Steven Saldana, White Husky Films. The number is on the screen for all of you listening. Go to www.whitehuskyfilms.com. This is the way you're going to do it. Are you ready? Dream, create, record in that order. And when you choose White Husky, I'm going to tell you right now, and the proof has been in the pudding on this. Oh, and by the way, we're also doing marketing packages now too. So the things that I have seen successful in my show, we have been climbing exponentially for now a year and a couple months, having unprecedented growth and making a lot of mistakes and learning from them. We're going to help you out too. Go to White Husky Films at www.whitehuskyfilms.com. Like I said, dream, create, record in that order. And when you choose White Husky, I'm going to tell you right now, you'll be so glad you did. And our sponsor, I'm telling you, I'm seriously considering moving to New Orleans
Mhm.
because these guys are incredible. Jane's Physical Therapy, Jaynes Physical Therapy. They are second to none. Specialists in home care. I don't know the whole way it happens, but you go to your doctor if you have surgery, let's say you're homebound or whatever, and you can't get to the physical therapy place. Well, guess what? They will come to you. And I had Casey James on the show. He is a class act, second to none. He's been running this show for about, gosh, 10 years, and he has several people on his roster. But here's the thing: many of those people on his roster have stayed with him for 9 years. Right?
Wow.
That's pretty cool. And so your schedule, your roster will never get or roster your patient, your caseload. It's not going to get thin. Um, there's referrals directly from the hospital group that he is attached to. I'm going to tell you something. Get in contact with us. We are still hiring in the New Orleans, the West Bank, North Shore, um, upwards into Metairie and all of those places in the surrounding areas of New Orleans. Really, they're all over Louisiana, but we are hiring right now. So go to Janes, JAYNESPT.com. That's JanesPT.com and apply. Send us a message and we'll get back to you right away. I'm actually helping recruit on this. So it's been really
Good.
fun to get, starts and stuff, and I've learned so much about that business and the things that I've thought about, what the just the heart of the people that are in it. It's amazing. It
Are
really
they are they
is.
are they franchising at all? Are they branching into the franchising to Ohio, PA, things of that nature?
Not yet, but guess what? Since we've been doing the show, the name recognition is starting to go out because I mean, we'll reload a physical therapist from anywhere in the United States. They want to
Mm.
come start a new adventure in New Orleans, we'll help you with relocation. And because of that, now there's a lot of folks that are, I get messaged all the time on LinkedIn. Are you guys in like in Ohio? Are you guys in North Carolina? Are you guys in California? I'm telling you, it's going to be expanding very soon. And I tell you, man, the guy is second to none. Like he wants you successful. Apparently, sometimes in that business, there's a lot of disorganization, right? Or they'll contract physical therapists and they don't. I don't know if they. It's not that they don't care, but they're not concerned about your driving distance or your time, right?
Mm,
So you all of a sudden get a call, you know, an hour before you're supposed to, you think you're done for the day and you get a call and it's an hour drive to get to the last patient. That's not
wow,
what KC does.
that's good.
They are these folks are in the regional area where they can go and really, I mean, we all have times where we have to go and, you know, maybe you know what I'm trying to say?
Right,
Like
right,
sometimes it's a little out of your way, but that's okay. The vast majority of the time and the patience, he makes sure that your time is valued and that your time is recognized. And it's a great place. I haven't seen a business owner, maybe except for you, that um, that has that uh, sort of this happened to me. I don't want it to happen to anybody else.
right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Are
So
you, are
anyway,
you, I got to introduce you to Quan Watson at one point this year. He
oh
has
man,
he has a mobile care service, Care Mobile, KARE, I believe that he uses
okay,
that, but he does dental services mobily. So it's a whole nother story.
wow,
It's deep. It's deep, and he's on the
bro.
same. He comes to your home if you're paraplegic, or even if you're not paraplegic. If you can't make it, he comes to your home in a van, and it's suited for extractions, cleanings, um, implants. Yes, it's yeah. And an Ohio guy and his wife, Brand Brian and Candace Brackeen of Lightship Capital. They were one of the first. They were at the cap table before anybody else. So it's man, it's amazing.
I
Yeah.
would love to
So
talk to him.
that
You
would be
know,
somebody that would be a great guest on the show, man.
man, I would love to talk to him. And you know what, too?
Oh,
We're signing up.
I want to
Go
cut
ahead.
you off, but and he's an inventor.
Oh man, we got. I want to say this one thing, and then we going to get to this because right now we're looking at new sponsors, right? And so there's a few that have come to us, but I just don't. Put it this way: not all money is good money,
No,
and I'm not just going to have somebody. My criteria for somebody that would be interested in spreading their message through the show and through the spinoff Work Your Career Extra. It's got to be two things. You got to have a track record of integrity, and you have to be something that's going to help people. That's what I mean. Like the whole show is about helping people.
yeah.
Your brand can't be something that is not. You know what I mean? So I definitely want to. It seems like the trajectory that we're going on, and I can't wait to talk to you about them. And who are they? They're
Care Mobile.
Care Mobile. Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Here's,
And thank you so much
here's what I
for
wish,
that.
man. Here's what I wish. I wish that regular beverage brands, right,
Mhm.
were as apt to sponsoring podcasts as alcohol brands are.
Come on.
You
Yeah.
you could do a tour and you could find 10 alcohol based sponsors within a week. Anybody that sells alcohol or spirits, they'll be willing to sponsor anything. But
How
you go to a non-alcohol beverage brand and ask for a sponsorship, they want numbers that they want Joe Rogan numbers.
right. Yeah, we've
You know,
learned that. Yeah.
that's but you could have 1,000 likes on one topic or one thing, and you go to a certain alcohol brand and they'll sponsor the whole thing.
All of a sudden,
Right.
you know,
You could be a recovering addict and say, "Hey, I want you to sponsor me," and they'll say, "Okay, we'll sponsor you." Like, wait a minute, it's
yeah,
conference.
that's right.
Like, but you can't
Yeah.
go to a, there's a whatever beverage brand you think of, if you go to them, it's so many loopholes.
Mhm.
Um, but if you go to an alcohol brand, they'll say, we'll take a look at it. If you got 1,000 likes here or 1,000 followers here, you can get a sponsorship from it. But at what cost to
At
your
what
audience?
at what cost? I mean, I've it really hasn't been a debate with me on that. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're firmly in the camp of, keeping God in the center of what we do. I've been that guy that even though I had success in Christian gospel music, when the focus became on me instead of the mission, it got all out of hand. I don't want that to happen with this show, you
Right.
know? And so that right there is really funny you say that. Or water brands that
Yeah. There's
in the title, in their very name.
there's a water brand called Flow, FLOW, that I reached out
Okay.
to.
Yeah.
Uh, and they don't even respond back to you. Like they don't even respond back.
Wow.
At least tell me no. At least say, hey, we saw the offer. No, thank you. A lot of these companies, they don't
Yeah.
even have something set up to respond back to you. Um,
Some no.
you know, Wakia, which is a Hawaii-based water company, they
Mhm.
responded back and said, "How many cases of water do I need? What type of an event is it?" But I I was like, "Okay, I'm going to Florida to do an event. I don't need water. I need capital." But anyway,
Yeah.
but they were nice enough to offer product,
That's something.
right? That's but they didn't offer any monetary
Well,
sponsor. But
yet,
it's still something. It's still
but it's
something.
something. It's still
Yeah.
let's let the audience in to who you are, because your story is so incredible, and where you are now is, if there's an odd that is that you've defied, I think all of them would qualify. When you talk about, oh, he beat the odds or whatever, I'm gonna tell you right now, Albert Hardin knows all about beating the odds. He is the
We're still beating them.
still
Still
beating them.
beating.
He is the CEO of Inventors. He is a serial entrepreneur, a serial inventor, and the invention mind goes all the way back to 8 years old.
8 years old. I'm glad you remember that, man. 8 years old.
Well, now we have a product that little 8 year old kid would be so happy
Hmm.
is finally coming around, and you are going to hear more about it in the near future. But please make welcome my friend, and just I just got so much respect for this guy, Mr. Albert Hardin, brother.
And still, and listen, man. As an entrepreneur, one of the hardest things is going back to work,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are begrudging. But if you look at a gentleman by the name, I can't, man, what is this guy's name? Well, he's a former basketball player, and he was in the NBA for a while, man. But he also worked at Wendy's during the off season. And Rich Paul tells the story about him. And I had a rule in Bridgman, Junior Bridgman, and he became Wendy's, and still to this day, Wendy's biggest franchisee. So
Brother.
here's a guy who's in the NBA, right? In the NBA, and on off seasons, he goes to Wendy's to work,
Ain't that
right?
something?
So when I look at a guy like that, and if I have to go back to work, so one things you don't know that we didn't talk about was recently I took a $12,983.72 loss from doing a ghostwriting project from somebody I trusted, right? And Clevelander here, right in Cleveland, Ohio. He's a hometown guy right here in Cleveland. And one day he ups and decides, man, that I'm not going to finish the project. June of last year, to be specific, June of last year, he decides, hey, I'm not going to finish the project. So I'm still beating the odds to go back to that point, still beating the odds, man.
Well,
And
I'm glad it isn't our friend from Akron.
no, no, absolutely not. No,
You know what
absolutely.
I mean?
This is the Cleveland guy, man, that's in the remodeling business. That just decided that he wasn't going to pay me. Uh, you know,
Well, say what you want about that guy, our friend from Akron. Uh, he seems to keep his word.
oh yeah.
You
I've
know,
seen, yeah. I have projects, man, Bradley, that you wouldn't believe that I've put on people's desk, and they're either ignored or they're reverse engineered.
mm,
I haven't had the opportunity to put anything on that gentleman's desk yet, but
I love what
there,
you say. It's
yeah,
always yet.
yeah, yeah. I
It's
haven't had
always
it
yet.
because I don't, I don't do like I don't create out of, oh, I'm gonna create this so I can make this much money.
Man.
I create out of just creativity.
Yeah.
My wife, I'll give you a prime example. Uh, 2000, year 2000, my wife comes home and she's drinking a Pepsi.
Mm.
And literally look at her drinking a Pepsi and I say to her, I'm going to have Puff Daddy remix that shit. Excuse my language. This is literally what I say. I
Mm-hmm.
walk out of my house. I go to the convenience store at the time on the street called Kinsman that I lived on. And it was Mr. V's, may he rest in peace, his grocery store. And I bought 4 different Pepsis. Pepsi Twist, Wild Cherry, regular Pepsi, Pepsi Vanilla. It was all the Pepsi. I put them all in the pitcher, and I told my wife this is going to be Pepsi Remix, the choice of a bad boy with great taste. I write the script. I didn't protect the script, so we'll get back to that. I wrote it. So the copyright law states that, and I'm not an attorney. This is just from my pro se experience, um, practical and pragmatic knowledge. I didn't copyright it. Now, the law says that once you create something, an original work, it is your copyright. It's your original work. But in order to defend it in the court of law, you must register that copyright officially with the Copyright Office, the Library of Congress. I didn't do that. I did something that no one should do. I put it in an envelope and I mailed it to myself. That is called the poor man's copyright. That's what a lot of people will sell you on. Oh, if you got an idea, put it in an envelope and mail it to yourself. That's BS. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Lot of musicians do that. You
Please
know.
don't do that. It's a
Yep.
falsehood. It's a falsehood.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to court and the seal will show the judge that you never opened it, and he'll open it up and no, that's that's not true. It's
Yeah.
not true. Whoever told you that, stop listening to them. It's not good practical and pragmatic advice. It's not good advice. So
Tell it.
lo and behold, I had a connection in my mind. I had a connection. So I say in my mind because in my mind, I felt like I was connected to this person, John P. Kellogg. He's an attorney. I felt like I was connected to him. So
Well,
remember that part.
hold on. Who was he an attorney with? Too.
Okay, at the time I knew that he had worked with one, a group called Cameo, two, Joe Levert, and three, a gentleman by the name of G. Depp, who was signed to Sean Combs, who was in a song called Special Delivery. So
Okay.
in my mind, since I'm from Cleveland and he's from Cleveland and he's an entertainment lawyer, he would love to help me. In my mind, since he was connected to Sean Combs, he could immediately connect me to Sean Combs. So this is in my head, right? So as an inventor, as a creator, you know, maybe it's just me and nobody else. Sometimes you tend to believe that since this person is from this city or this person is from this place, if you have a good ideal and you share it with them, that they then will take that to the next level with you and to help you out and also make money in the process. That's not always the case. So make a long story short, I submit my script to him. I paid $150 for 30 minutes or 45 minutes of consultation. And I submit the script to him. And the script is, Sean Combs in the studio with 4 of his artists. They're all drinking a different Pepsi. He gets so excited, he knocks over the Pepsis. They break dance for one Pepsi. Pepsi Remix, the choice of a bad boy with great taste. Boom. I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be the biggest thing ever, right? So lo and behold, Mr. Kellogg says something to me that's very important to this day. He said, I'm glad to see a young African American male like yourself getting into the advertising industry. However, Pepsi wouldn't attach themselves to a street word or ghetto word such as the word remix. I said, oh, okay. So in my mind, there's no rebuttal. There's no rebuttal for me. This guy has been in the industry. He's been in Cameo. He's worked with Joe Levert. He's worked with Sean Combs through G-Dep. There's absolutely no rebuttal. I'm paying him for his time. There's no reason for me to doubt what he's saying. He's in the industry. You know, it'd be like your chiropractor telling you to lay a certain way so he can crack your back, and you telling him, I don't think that's safe. You know, so I took his word for it. Until one day, lo and behold, my wife and I, we were in the movie theater, and up on the screen, I see, may he rest in peace as well, Biz Markie.
Oh, I can see it right now.
Cutting and scratching, and as he's scratching, there's fruit spinning. The fruit splashes together and creates Sprite remix.
So I guess it was good enough for Coke.
Good enough for Coke. Good enough for Coca-Cola, right? So my wife is like, whoa. But here's the bigger part about it. There's a guy, a friend of mine, Jeffrey Bennett. He calls me and he says, oh man, I know you got paid. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I saw your commercial. Now here's a guy who read the script. So immediately in his mind, I just didn't go to Pepsi. I must have went to Coca-Cola too, because he noticed the script. He said, I saw your script, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. I said, no, man, I didn't get paid, man. I said, this is what happened. I told him the same story I just told you. And he was blown away. He was like, no way.
Well, hold on. Let's go back. Let's go back real quick. I just want to hit on this, and then we're going to get right back to being, oh, no way. Because if you remember when you told me, that was my reaction.
Yeah.
Oh, no way. You didn't just have this thought. You went out, and I want to hit this again. You went out and bought several different Pepsis.
Right.
You went back to your kitchen. This is when you first had the idea. You put it all together to make sure that it tastes right, that it tastes good. Just on, I mean, and that's what we call, product testing, right? Like, just R&D. To see if just R&D, right? Just to see if it's going to taste good.
Yeah.
And it was good. So it wasn't just this bright idea that, hey, I can make some money off of, mixing a bunch of colas together. You actually, and not even trying it, you had the idea, went out and bought the product, tried what the idea is, and said, man, this is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, okay, I just want to make sure that people understand that it wasn't just, hey, let's mix them all together and blah, blah, blah. No, this was thought out. Because how can I put a commercial together for something that doesn't taste good, something that nobody's going to buy?
That's right.
The point I'm getting to is it should be obvious. You have an eye toward quality.
Right.
Even at the beginning stages, it's like, is this going to work? I don't know. You know what I mean? Let me try it. So get back. Okay. So now we're at the point where you must have made a lot of money on that. You said no. And he's like, I can't believe it.
He couldn't believe it. So at the time, I'm working a security job. Mm-hmm. And there's a guy named Bilal. And Bilal says, man, I have a buddy I went to college with. His name is James T. Ryan. And the reason why I know his name is James, I'm reading the actual legal document that he sent me. So I want to read, I want to skip over a lot, and I want to read one phrase to you really quickly.
Okay.
This is what he says, one sentence. He says, any comments I made during our discussions were preliminary and tentative and not based on a thorough analysis and research of your matter. Now, I want to ask you, why do you think he put that in there? What do you think he told me that made him put that in there as an attorney?
I think this is the winner.
He told me, man, we got you. He said, we're going to knock it out the park. He said, this is it. I sent him the script. I sent him my vision board of the ideal. I sent them everybody I contacted. I sent him the money order that I sent to John P. Kellogg. A copy of that. I sent him a copy of the I sent him a copy of the greeting card that I had sent Mr. Kellogg, thanking him for his services. I sent him all this. This is before Sprite Remix came to pass. I sent him all this information, and he was absolutely like, "No, we're gonna take care of you. Like we're taking care of you, no doubt." I'm like, "Yes." So I got an attorney in my corner. Then he sends me this letter, and again, any comments I have made during our discussions. So he backs out of that.
Mm-hmm.
He backs out of that. Coke is a big player. You run up against Coca-Cola, you better be ready. So, he wasn't interested in taking anybody on in the court of law. But I kept all of those things, as the young people call them, receipts. I kept all of those receipts. And in 2007, I wrote a small piece. Oh, and I'll share something else with you too. So the radio station here in my hometown, 107.9, at the time, there was a gentleman, I believe, I want to say Eddie Bauer. He had worked there. That was his radio name. I reached out, and it was Anybody Got a Story to Tell. It was on Anybody Got a Story to Tell. Anybody got a story to tell? Call in and tell your story. So I called in and tell my story, and before they let you tell your story, you're off the air. So I told him what happened to me, and he said, "Man, I would love to let you tell your story, but Coca-Cola is one of our sponsors."
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like, man, F it. I can't get the story out. So in 2007, I wrote a book, and in the book's called Get Over It, the 9 Keys to Get Over Pitch Rejection and Mistakes. It was a local book, self-published. I sold it hand to hand throughout my neighborhood. And in that book, I detail the layout of how the ideal came about, the people I contacted, what happened. So that was my way of giving myself self-therapy, was by writing about all of the no's that I had encountered that put me in a position to want to begin to help other people take their ideals and turn them into income, or take the ideals and at least see them through to the point of protecting that intellectual property. At least getting that far. If you don't produce it, if you don't get it acquired, at least get it out of your head onto paper and into the copyright office, the trademark office, or the patent office. So that began that journey for me. And I'm still on that journey as a content creator, as an inventor, still on that same journey, man. With now about 26 intellectual properties under my belt, one being a patent, man, that's 20 years and 153 days protected. It is something that is going to, I believe, revolutionize the boxing and the sport industry and the advertising industry.
I got to tell you, I'm so excited to get into that. I really am. Albert, I need people to hear you. In this day and age, I look at an inventor a lot like an artist. You happen to be both, right?
I appreciate that.
And a lot of time, inventors, much like artists, don't focus on the details of what's going to protect them.
No,
they focus on the details of their revolutionizing product.
That's the danger.
You know what I mean? And
that's the danger.
There's a lot of people that have your story and have handled it in ways that are probably not great. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You have taken this stuff in, you have taken the hits, you've taken the disappointment, you've taken all that, and you have kept rolling and steamrolling, and you've kept your head up. And I love your attitude, because it's the attitude that, and you got, and I know you, and we've talked, and your attitude is nothing but full steam ahead, learning from every time all this happened. Stay with us. We're going to take a quick break, but we are going to be right back with the amazing Albert Hardin. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Jane's Physical Therapy has immediate openings for full-time and part-time positions. For home healthcare physical therapists and physical therapy assistants, we are actively looking in the New Orleans and Lafayette areas. Call Bradley Clark at 713-364-8777. Join us at Jane's Physical Therapy, and let's help Louisiana get back to living life.
Everybody, welcome back to this amazing guest, Albert Hardin, really offering just invaluable insights on what entrepreneur needs to do, what an inventor needs to do, and he has learned these things through a lot of heartbreak and research, you know. And so, man, I'm just so blessed and honored that you're here with us today. So, you know, the story that you told in the last segment, you know, that happens to a lot of folks, you know,
Yes.
particularly when they're young and they, you know, are trusting that people have their best interests at heart, and they find out that sometimes people don't have their best interests at heart, and they have their best interests at heart.
Are you familiar with the game Operation?
Oh yeah.
Game where you got to get the bones out of the man laying on the board.
Yeah.
Okay, so the inventor is from Ohio. I have so many inventors in my head, I may get his name wrong. But in my memory, I believe his name is Michael or Kevin Spallino. Now, I could be totally wrong. That could be the inventor of the George Foreman grill, because I have so many inventors in my head. But this gentleman worked for Hasbro. And this gentleman took that ideal to Hasbro. And Hasbro promised him a certain amount of money and a job. I don't believe he got either. So his prototype, he had to sell to get dental work done. He had to sell his prototype to get dental work done. Right? So now this guy was a guy that was of age, seasoned, smart, worked for the company. I recently had the opportunity, Bradley, to meet a gentleman by the name of Douglas E. Skillicorn. And I told this gentleman that he was my inventor hero. He holds about 26 patents, but he did it under the brand known as B.F. Goodrich, or right now, Goodrich Holdings.
Mm-hmm.
His inventions, his engineering was in relation to heated tires, formulations of this and that in the automotive industry and other industries that apply to it. And he never received a royalty for anything.
Oh.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Okay.
He never received a royalty. I had the privilege of hanging two of his placards on his wall that names two of his inventions. And it says, Inventor Douglas E. Skillicorn, assignee, which that's a whole nother situation. Assignee, it says B.F. Goodrich. Okay. Now, someone may lose the translation and say assignee. That means the inventor or employer. Okay. Mm-hmm. Assignee, employee, right? That's not how it works in the industry. You could be the inventor and have an assignee, and the assignee makes way more money off of you, and you make $50,000 for that job that you did. Well done. Move on. Some of his inventions now are in China, Europe, Japan, and he's not getting paid from it. He's 91 years old now. He doesn't see a dime for any of his. He only got paid for being the worker that he was doing the job that he did, right? And this is one of the issues that I have with how the inventor world works, right? So you have a company that says, we believe in diversity and inclusion, okay? Do you believe in economic equality, though?
No.
You believe in diversity and inclusion. You have a poster that says that. Great. You believe in diversity and inclusion. You promoted 2 African Americans or 2 women or 2 people from the LGBT community. You've hired someone that's considered on the spectrum. That's great. But are you positioning them for economic equality? No. How do you do that, Albert? Okay. You take away the inventor agreement. You take away the intellectual property agreement. Don't take away the non-compete agreement. You don't want somebody working for Mattel seeing how Barbie is formulated and then creating brats. You don't want that to happen. We've seen how that played out. You don't want that to happen. But you do want your employee looking at something saying, I can make this better. Here's the ideal. Can I partner with you, beverage company? Can I partner with you and create this? And I become a partner in the creation, meaning I get part of the trademark, I get part of the invention, patent, I get part of the copyright. And as it goes into the marketplace, I get a share of its value and I get a royalty. Right? So now said inventor says to his family members, hey, you all can go to college because this beverage company or this automotive company or this security company has allowed me to share my ideal, be a part of the intellectual property process, and then gain income in the form of royalty. So now they've taken me off of the hourly payroll and they've put me in a position where I make $100,000 a year and I get 7% of royalty. That employee tells that story about that company. Then another employee comes in and does the same thing. And these kids are going, and they kids go to college or they go back to school. This is how you really fight to get economic equality, by letting one have his intellectual property, his or her intellectual property rights, and not be bound by an agreement that states anything that you invent, you get no money for it, and it's in perpetuity and generational, meaning your kids can't make any money off of it, your wife can't make money off of it, your grandkids can't make any money. The moment you create it, we own it. There's companies, Bradley, and there's companies, and ADT is one of them. There's companies out there, man, that say that holds a year after you leave the company. So wait a minute. So what you're telling me is anything I create under your umbrella, you own. And if I do it a year after I leave the company, you own it too? So this is what but if you need a job, and I've been in this position, right? If you need a job, and I'm speaking for myself, if you need a job because you have $59.82 in your account, you just lost money huge in the stock market, you have somebody who you trusted on a project, walk away from $13,000 that they owe you, that you let them pay you monthly because you didn't want to charge them $25,000 up front. You have a situation where you want to be a good steward in your family, and you've turned down careers because of that type of agreement, but you're not bringing in any income. And you've turned down income because you didn't want that income because you have integrity. At some point, that agreement comes across that person's table, And they say, well, damn, I have to generate income. I have to become liquid. So you sign that agreement. And then you go back and you read that agreement and you realize, man, I don't want to ever complain about this agreement again. I want to change it. Right? Because there's
Sure.
companies out. I don't want to complain about the agreement that these companies hold. I want to change it. I want to become the prototype, if you will. And the pun is intended. So I mean that hyperbolically, right? The pun is intended. I want to become the prototype, Bradley, for the person who actually works inside of a corporation and can change the corporation's mind on, we need to get rid of this agreement because we say we're for diversity and inclusion, but we need to also show that we're for economic equality, that we're for someone working with us and becoming our partner in the IP that they create with us. That we don't want to hold that person back or that person's family back from inventing and creating and getting paid for it. And we want to be the pioneers for that type of mindset inside of corporations that don't just tout and put out a poster about diversity and inclusion, but actually steps it up. The status quo steps it up, raises the bar higher to make other companies get involved in economic equality. And not when a George Floyd situation happens, right? Not when a Me Too movement happens, not when a Pride Month comes along, but we're going to do this every single day. We're going to get rid of these agreements. We are locking people into slave deals where they now have to give us their ideals. We make millions and billions of dollars off of them, and they're still getting $25,000 a year. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
I'm trying to find the guy who started the company that made Mousetrap.
Hmm.
You know about that story?
I've heard.
He made just different stuff, and he employed this guy. They were a novelty company, and in the 40s they made a bunch of money off of the clicking teeth.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. He's a connection of mine. I know exactly what you're talking about. He's an older gentleman. He's still inventing. He's still inventing. Right? Is he still inventing?
I'm trying to find his name. Well, he went to LA with this guy. No, he got bought out. But the guy that employed him went to LA and went and employed a lot of designers.
Okay.
And the woman that invented Light Bright moonlit. And that was a big, I mean, inventors, you're talking about John Spinello from Operation, Hasbro guy.
What did I say? Michael Spinello? Michael Spinello?
I think
I told you, I probably said Michael or Kevin Spinello because, like I said, I have so many names in my head.
Well, here's the thing with that. This is an article from 2014. Operation Game Inventor can't afford his own surgery.
Yep.
I mean,
think about that. So just think about that real quick. You and I could go into the store right now and for our children or for ourselves, I have to admit for myself, purchase the game Operation. Mm-hmm. And this gentleman couldn't even afford his own surgery. He sold his prototype. He sold his prototype. Think about that, man.
I'm looking up. I thought it was The Toys That Made Us off Netflix, but I'm thinking it might have been The Toys That Build America for the guy that I'm thinking of.
And
the
look
prank toy race. Was it? Let me see. I was shocked when I saw that. Well, actually, it was funny because when I watched this thing on the History Channel. We're talking about inventors, but even the either the Netflix show or this show, The Toys That Build America, off of History Channel. I could not do anything but think about you. And let me see the idea. I think it's this one, Marvin Glass.
Mm.
Marvin Glass oversees the creation of many of the most iconic toys of the 20th century, from chattering teeth to a legendary game based on Mousetrap. The
Mm.
way that guy, I mean, the way that guy ran his company, honestly, I, in one way, I get it. The idea is that you're giving an opportunity to designers and people that, are game, maybe even by happenstance, become a game inventor. And
Okay.
so you're giving them a platform to invent. What he did with the chattering teeth thing, if I remember it correctly, I think, he was in partnership with this guy. So he was able to buy out the inventor of the teeth. But it's a rare, when he moved to LA, or at least maybe I don't remember if he was in LA or not. That company, I guess he learned from that. So he employed the people, put them in an ironclad contract that if they did anything outside of his domain, you're done in every way, shape, and form. And then, someone did. I mean, I don't know, man. For me, anybody that, like, for example, in the recruiting industry, right? So when I first started, I I thought, look, we have 7 lines of business. Why are we not why is my division, right, the one that I got into, that basically was the lowest, or at least one of the lowest, um, uh, bottom line of all of them, because we were a division of a division, right?
Okay.
And I walk in and it's just me, and I'm like, why are, like, what are the mistakes that happened, or what were some of the things? So I went to every single division, and I went to every single person in it, and I said, listen, if you can get me in front of a hiring manager on one of your client visits, I will give you 25% of the deals that I close until the Lord comes back.
Right.
And guess what? We went from being the lowest to one of the highest in the entire nation,
Right.
just by doing that, and making sure that my word's good,
Yeah.
making sure. Now, okay, fast forward. Okay. So if I'm a CEO and I have inventors working for me in an industry like the toy industry or any industry where I'm
Yeah.
employing people that are inventing things, I don't know. It doesn't kill me at all to make sure that if I want my inventors to stay with me and not feel like they're being taken advantage of, it makes sense to me to make sure that they're a part of the deal. Now,
Yeah.
if the
That's the
idea flops, you get nothing. If the
you know.
idea is iconic, then you have generational wealth. And you can say, you know what, I worked for Bradley Clark,
Yep.
and they're never going to leave me.
It's called economic equality, man. I mean, even
I
if they
mean,
do you, even if they do leave, you understand that you put them in a position
to
to make,
succeed.
to succeed and make that decision, right? Um,
Mm. It just, it just
but
doesn't make any
but
sense to me.
some corporations, I don't know, the mindset is you always have to be here. That's it,
Mm.
right? I don't know if that's the mindset, but in the 1800s, African Americans were not allowed to own their intellectual properties, right? Lewis Latimer had to say that Thomas Edison invented this,
Mm-hmm.
even though Lewis Latimer did the drafting of the carbonate filament that went in the light bulb. He drafted that patent. right? So I wrote 85% of my patent. You know, my attorney, Patrick Doherty, wouldn't refute that. I wrote 85% of my patent. At one point, my attorney came back to me because I did an experiment. So I experimented with how long my boxing bag would stay in the air before it descended. And he asked me to take that out of the patent. And I refused to take it out of the patent. Well, if you Google my name and you look at my patent, it's still in there.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, here's an attorney who works for IBM, who's a smart guy, a great guy, but as an inventor who also understands how to write his patent, I refuse to take that out because it adds validity to who I am, not only as an inventor and creator, but also as somebody who knows and understands the engineering aspect of noting your experiment, noting what your prototype does, noting and adding to the patent so it adds validity and it adds weight if someone tries to infringe me, right? Or say that I didn't create it. I can say, well, here's a test I conducted. It's in the patent, right? You can look at 1,000 patents and you probably find that only 10% hold that kind of weight, where inside of the patent itself, inside of the language, there is what the experiment looked like. So I put that in my patent as well. You know, and again, you can't just be a person with an idea, right? I have an idea for a new shoe. Okay. I have an idea for a new clock. Okay. That's great. Everybody has a new idea. Get them all the time. But are you ready to put yourself in a position to become your pro se? Somebody that can operate at the level of your attorney or at least mid-level of an attorney, somebody that's willing to study that industry, somebody that's willing to study the commercialization of. Dr. Grant, who created the golf tee, Dr. Grant, an African-American inventor, he didn't understand how to commercialize the golf tee. He understood how to invent it, but he didn't understand how to market it. He didn't understand how to put it into the marketplace, right? So you have to do both. You have to understand that how do I take this ideal and protect it? So that's two things. How do I get the ideal? How do I protect the ideal? And then how do I put myself in a position to commercialize the ideal? You can't just do one.
Well, you know, I think well, let me say this. I think if in one case it can be made, and this is the same thing for musicians,
right,
you know, getting signed with the label. It's like I can make the music, but I can't market the music. I can make the music, but you know what I'm talking about? So you have
the separation.
Wait a minute. Let me finish. So, you know, the case for the company can say, well, you're never going to sell it the way we can do it. You're never going to have the marketing arm that we can do, that we have. You're never going to have the reach that we have. So, right? So in the where I sit, in one way, shape, or form, I can appreciate that. Okay, that's cool. But just because you have that amount of power, I mean, you can say, well, what percentage of power does one have? You have 1%, I have 99. You know what I mean? I have all the power to make this thing something. You have the something, I can make it something that people want to buy. And I can appreciate that. Again, a lot of inventors, a lot of musicians, a lot of artists. I mean, you know, all through history, there's a reason why artists have always had patrons. There's a reason for it. Because art in and of itself, if nobody's going to buy it, they're not going to buy it if they don't know about it.
That's it.
Now, that said, I don't believe that just because you wouldn't have the product if it wasn't for the inventor.
Right.
You're going to make money off of this for generations.
Generations, man.
So why are we, and it's not an old concept. I've been a CEO. I've done all that. I've never been in a situation where I'm like, you know what? You know, those people that work for me, you know, they get a salary, so screw them. They can't take a joke. You know what I mean? Never been that guy. And I don't understand. It doesn't compute for me how you can have someone or a group of people. And I'm not saying, look, this happens. I think there's a better delineation when it comes to engineering inventions, like say in oil and gas. The company will say they own it and they can own it, but I've seen it to where there's percentage in perpetuity for said invention, right? Like you get it patented and it's not just a credit, like, oh, I'll give them a credit, they'll be okay.
Right.
But there's actual money beyond the invention that gets, placed.
As it should be, man. So when I
Well,
got my
so well, I was going to ask, okay, you have an idea, you're working at a company, right? That company is paying your salary, is paying your benefits. Let's say somebody's making 150 grand a year, that the actual cost of that employee is sometimes double what you're making, right? Just based on several factors that they put a price tag on, right? Let's just say. So you have an idea, you present it. Now, if you invented that, whatever it is, inside the walls of that company or your contract, they own it. How does one go about? Because there's things that have to be in the contract before you sign that offer letter. How does one negotiate that?
you
And
don't what typically happens is you dumb yourself down and you become an employee and you strip yourself of being an inventor. And you retire. And you're 91 years old and you go from your home to a living facility. And I'm speaking of Douglas E. Skillicorn. I've watched it happen to him. Like I said, he's my inventor hero. He's someone who he just stopped. He just worked. He became an employee. So he never invented anything on his own. He just was the employee. So that's what happens. You forget that it's intellectual property and it's just work now.
so
It's never work. So that is, if that's the plight of the corporations, I don't know. I don't think that's the plight. I don't think that's a sinister position that they're taking. Like we're gonna make people robots and they're gonna dumb themselves down. But human nature, I believe, takes over. And I watched it happen to Mr. Skillicorn. He just became the employee who calls himself an inventor, but he does not get paid off his invention. He got paid off his work and his work ethic and his time that he spent in the company. He doesn't receive a royalty. He didn't receive any bonuses when certain things happen with the invention. So in this era that we're in now, where companies are saying, again, diversity and inclusion, my pushback is, where's the economic equality?
Well, it's not there. I mean, and I will just say this right off the bat. I've had shows where we talk about DEI and ESG. Had a couple women that are very good friends of mine that helped develop that in the NFL. And we've had debates on that. And my argument has always been this, pretty much the same one as yours. It sounds great. Everybody can feel wonderful. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with that, there are a host of issues where that in and of itself, as I don't know, pure as the intention was, it's like anything else, can be used
Yeah, yeah. So
in a
so
way for incredibly awful uh, outcomes.
yeah,
But hey, it makes us feel good.
yeah,
And while we're talking about DEI here and oh, we're so diverse and oh, we push diversity, meanwhile it's like see the hand here, you don't see the hand doing this.
right, right,
If you're concentrating here, you don't see them taken like this.
right. Right. There's really no one. I'm not gonna say no one. I don't know of anyone that's challenging that agreement. So
Why
so
would
my
they?
so for
Why would
this year,
they?
for me, this year, and I hope I can get it called the Skillicorn rule or the Skillicorn law. I want to put myself again in a position of the prototype, of the person who goes, um, goes before the masses and gives pushback on those agreements. Now here's the thing. I don't think that companies should do away with the non-compete agreement. And an example I use again is Barbie and the Bratz. You know, or if I work for Red Bull, right, and then I come out with Blue Bull energy drink. Yeah, this that's way, way,
well
way,
that
way, way,
well that
way.
that that energy drink just sounds like it hurts already.
So
So
that's
bad.
so right. So that's different. That's that should be something that you shouldn't be allowed to do, right?
I'm red already.
That's all right. But if I work for Red Bull and I say, Red Bull, look, if you were to do this with your can, right, it would make the product taste better or cleaner. If you were to formulate the can this way, if you put this kind of tab on it, if you put this kind of bottom on it, right? So, and again, you said something earlier. You said when you go to a company with an idea, well, you should never go to a company with an idea. You should go to the company with an intellectual property proposal that says, hey, I see your numbers are this. I see that this is this. Here is something that we can formulate and put together that can make it this. This is what the trademark would be. This is what the copyright would be. This is what the utility patent, method of patent, or design patent would be. You go to them in that manner so they understand your intellectual aptitude as it relates to intellectual property. And they don't just think you're a person with your head in the sky that's coming to them with a general idea. Here's something else. Amazon, they have a board and it says ideals here. And the people who write their ideals, they write their ideals, right? Ideals to make the company better. Now, if you're writing up there, then you understand, and you need to understand that any company, Amazon, whomever else, they own that. When you put your name, when you put it up there, they own that, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you go to a place and it's a suggestion box, that's research and development. You put something in there, they own it. You can't get mad about that. You put it in there, they own it. So first, stop going to companies with your ideas, right? Put together a proposal, do your research, go to them with the clean, straightforward intellectual property proposal. And if you're in a side of a company where you've already signed an agreement, if you can position yourself to then opt out of that agreement and still stay employed, I don't know if you can do that, but I'm in the position in my life now where I am geared towards changing that, where companies will not only talk about diversity and inclusion, but they will talk about economic equality and how they have taken Jane from 50,000 a year to now she's a partner with this particular piece of IP inside of the company, and now she's a millionaire. That's the
Albert,
side.
but Albert, that a lot of times when they're talking about what you're talking about, it's not their money, it's someone else's money.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, we love that and all of that. Well, we better get funding. It's not their money. Essentially, what you're talking about is owning really not just your name, but owning that piece and then owning a percentage, monetary percentage of that. I mean,
Yes.
if companies are so hell bent on not doing that, think of it as commission. Think of it as commission. With every unit sold, that the person that invented it should get commission.
A
Now, a lot of
royalty.
times, but you know what I mean? You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
call it what you're going to call it, but it is what it is. You know, you can call it you know, I don't know, whatever, man. You know, a gift of this percentage of monetary value that includes perpetual, that can be transferred to, you know, to your descendants.
That's it.
Call it a gift.
That's
I don't care what you call it, but it is what it is. Call it a royalty, call it. So, but what I'm asking is that if someone comes to a company and they're about to get hired, you know, how does that conversation in your mind
Ooh, I'm glad
look?
you asked. Let me tell you.
Because
Okay. I
that's
was
where it has to be. You
no.
can't renegotiate a contract once you start working somewhere. It has to be up
Well,
front,
well,
and
you
they're going to
can.
say, well,
You
okay,
you
you
can.
can. I guess you can do anything,
You can do
but
anything. But
in order
let me.
for it to in order for it to happen, you got to go from the very, if
Yes.
you have to work for a company and
Yes.
you guys are negotiating, everybody looks at how much money they're going to get, or how much stock options they're going to get, or the benefits, but they don't
Yep.
realize in the midst of you working there, particularly if you are highly skilled
Yes.
engineer or whatever, and you're going to come with ideas and you want to help that company grow. But
Man.
if, but you know what I'm, so
Yeah.
how does someone talk about that in the negotiation of the offer before they sign it, before you
Okay.
get a start date? How does someone do that?
I'll tell you. Um. So there's a company, Diag Partners, right? Diag Partners. I was down to $59.82 in my bank account. I just turned down $35,000 for someone who wanted to buy my patent. Then I turned down $100,000 for someone that wanted to buy my patent. I might have $59.82 in my bank account.
Hmm.
Okay. I retired my wife 4 years ago. She had to go back to work for 4 months just to help me out. Um, I'm $12,980.72 in the hole from one deal. I'm 50K in the hole from this situation over here. I'm $8,100 in the hole from this situation over here. Yet I turned down 35K and 100K. Most people would think I was crazy. But back to our friend in Akron, back to LeBron,
Mm-hmm.
all that stayed in my mind was this young man who decided he was worth more than $10 million. So he walked away from the Reebok deal.
That's right. Which
That's all that
was
stuck in my mind. His
incredible.
integrity, his fortitude, his wherewithal, that's all that stuck in my mind. And another
Mm-hmm.
story of Master P and his brother getting back on a plane, turning down a deal that I don't know how much it was for, but turning down a deal that he felt was less than his value. So, and I'm trying not to get lost in this part of the conversation. But I went to a company called Diag Partners, a regular nine to five, man. And they had an intellectual property agreement. And I asked to speak to legal. Now, mind you, I passed the urine test, passed the background check, signed the offer. I mean, no, I didn't sign the offer yet. I said, I don't want to sign the offer until I talk to someone about this intellectual property agreement. They said, fine, talk to them in a week. They're on vacation. Cool. Waited, reached out to them again. They ghosted me. Now, here's something. So I had a client who was paying me $500 a month for my consultation on intellectual property. Because I knew Diag Partners was about to hire me, I told this person, you don't have to pay me this money this year. We'll just work off of a rev share because I have something going on that I won't be able to dedicate this time to you. So I lost $6,000 just in the process of moving for the year. I lost that 6 grand. This is 2024 I'm talking about. I lost that 6 grand this year by believing that this company was going to let me talk to legal and actually work something out with me where they would bring me in, but I wouldn't have to sign the intellectual property agreement. It never happened. So not only did I not get the job at Diag Partners, I also lost the $6,000 that I would have gotten this year from the client that I was doing consulting work with. So when I went to an attorney and said, is there a possibility that I could make this company pay me for losing this $6,000? Because I only told the client that I wasn't going to renew my contract with them for this $500 a month because they have gave me the promise of a job.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way I didn't sign the contract. The contract was ready to be signed. I didn't execute because this company said, we're going to hire you for this. You're going to be traveling here, 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 here. But when I mentioned the intellectual property agreement, they ghosted me. Right? So that's how you do it. You got to do it in the beginning, but you have to understand that company, when you bring it up before you sign the offer agreement, they may just back out and ghost you.
What is up with this?
And the reason why I say
ghosting,
because I hope it airs and they have to understand what they did to me financially.
Now, this is going to air. This is going to air.
I'm definitely going to bounce back. You know, Marcus Ogden took a 8-figure loss. You know, went from 8 figures to 825 an hour.
That's right.
So, and now he's back climbing. So having somebody like that in my corner, somebody like that who I talk to on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Somebody, you know, having somebody like that in his story and having his book, The Success Cycle,
mm-hmm.
it gives me even a better perspective to the perspective that I already have. Right. But
I'll tell you what,
there should be, that company should be, and all companies like that should be held accountable when you give somebody an offer letter and they lose money to take that offer letter, and then you pull it from up under them because you don't like the question that they asked.
Well, they didn't even pull it. I mean, that's shameful. They didn't even pull it. They just ghosted Period. You. And the thing is that I don't understand this. It seems to be really prevalent in modern business right now.
Yes.
There's a lot of folks that I don't know who they haven't been trained properly. There's an idea, maybe diversity, equity, inclusion includes folks that just don't feel comfortable talking to the person that wants to talk to legal.
Right.
Or maybe being upfront about that. You know, anybody that can take a look at your resume will know that you're an inventor. You have how many patents do you have now?
I have 26 intellectual properties, 1 patent and 1 trademark, and the rest are
anyone that takes a look at that on a resume will know that person is not sitting idle, that person is an inventor, is a formulator of ideas, is an executor of ideas. It's such an intensive and expensive process to get a patent. It's such an intensive process to get a trademark, and the IPs that you own. It's not easy, and so they should have known that. And I can't believe that there is a company on the face of this earth. Actually, I can now.
Oh yeah, a lot of
the term ghost. I mean, in one case, you dodged a bullet. If they're going to do that to someone like you or anybody, that's wrong. I mean, at the very least, have the recruiter reach out and go, okay, after we thought about it, they didn't even ask what your questions were about, talking to legal. No. And all of a sudden that was a problem. Miss me with that. That is that's shameful, man. And I really don't buy, honestly, I don't buy DEI. I don't buy ESG for what it is. And I don't mind putting it out there because it does nothing for the inventor. It does nothing for if you work for a company and you help that company, move forward to improve their product, let's say. And you have your name on it. And that company is shouldering the burden of getting it patented and all of that. I get that. But is that worth perpetuity? I can say I got my name on something.
Yeah. I mean, the record
I
industry,
mean, come on, man.
same thing, man. You know, the recoupment, you know, record label gives you $200,000. They need to recoup it 10 times, you know, but
And
this,
and they'll get their money.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, in one way, shape, or form. Albert, uh, if people get anything out of this conversation, they have to know that you're a real one.
I appreciate it.
There's no doubt about it, to where, you know, somebody can look at this conversation and what we're talking about, you know, and I don't want people to get it twisted. We're not talking about things to complain about them. We're talking about things so you can have the opportunity to learn from his, you know, 20 some odd going on 30 years of experience dealing with this stuff. We want we want you to know that your voice matters. Your voice matters. And until you know, here's the thing, Albert. You and I both are capitalists. Period. We, you know, we love our country. We are capitalists. But I'm sorry. There has to be. It's not sharing the wealth. It's getting paid for what you do.
All right.
There's no wealth sharing here. There's no, you know, taken from one and given to another. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
This
Oh,
is, I've
absolutely.
invented something. I've invented something, and thank you for being the platform that it went out on. However, this is what we did for your platform. And you know what I mean? It's just, it's shameful that the guy that invented Operation couldn't afford his own, or, you know, the guy that, you know, basically invented BF Goodrich is struggling. It's just not right, man. It's not right. Albert, gotta say, man, oh, I need you to come back.
Oh yeah. I
I really
definitely,
do.
once, as I began to, and again, so the strategy for me is to become the prototype
Mm-hmm.
uh, of the person who is inside of a corporation, who gets the corporation to see how shameful um, this agreement is, and how egregious this agreement is, and how this agreement doesn't need to change. It needs to be thrown out. Now, again, the non-compete should stay there because you don't want a Barbie brat situation.
Well, I don't think
But
anybody would the IP, yeah, it absolutely should stay there.
right, but the
You know,
intellectual
but
property agreement and the invention agreement that disallows you from owning your intellectual
participating, yeah,
property, that's ridiculous. It's
I
ridiculous.
agree.
So that's my goal, is to change that and not complain about it. Is to change it.
Well,
Is to
not
lobby.
even
Is to lobby against it. And it's to open up the eyes of people, um,
right.
because a lot of people. Here's something that's profound that I've learned from people older than me, younger than me, people with degrees, people with no, is that there is this subset of people who believe that corporations already own all the ideals.
No, oh my God, no. But they sure know how to market them, and they know
No,
how to patent them.
they believe that this
Yeah.
came to life because of this person, or this came to life because of this person, or the George Foreman grill was George Foreman's ideal. No,
No,
or
it
you know,
wasn't.
this company found him and he became the no. It's or that I think it was Mattel or Hasbro gave Lonnie Johnson the Super Soaker. No, he invented the Super Soaker, then sued them because they stole his IP. So it's people that there are people that believe that everybody is an endorser of an ideal and the companies own it all. And if you think of something, the company, this company A or company B or company C has already done it. They've already had it done. And I don't understand that mindset. And you could go to someone, you could say to that person in that group, hey, I see you did this. Maybe you should do that. Oh, if I was to do that, I probably would be sued because this person already owns it. They don't even check and see if anybody else owns it. They just immediately discredit themselves as having an unoriginal idea. And I see that across the board with people.
Yeah.
Millionaires, 9-to-5ers, millionaires, 9-to-5ers, from every spectrum, that I say to them, hey, you should do this with this. Oh, no, so-and-so probably already thought of this. I don't, how? In 1982, and I have the award for it. In 1982, I created a character called Rocky the Lion. Okay? I drew the character. Still have it and still have the character here. In 1992, the Denver Nuggets trademarked a character called Rocky the Mountain Lion. Had my parents understood intellectual property, they would have had to cease and desist the Denver Nuggets, because the character, if you put them side by side, they're Rocky the Lion, Rocky the Mountain Lion, and my Rocky the Lion look exactly the same. My 1982 character was a mascot for the poor people. He would go into communities and give out gifts. This was my character that I created in 1982 when the teacher asked us to create characters and write a story about your character and what the character does. And then 10 years later, 1992, the Denver Nuggets create Rocky the Lion, Rocky the Mountain Lion. So not to say that the Denver Nuggets had, in 10 years, they took this little kid's ideal. I'm just saying to say that my parents would have knew how to trademark it, and they would have been in a position, had they knew stood intellectual property, they'd have been in a position to find an attorney to go after the Denver Nuggets in that time period. And that would have been wealth into our family. So not only am I it's twofold. So not only am I positioning myself this year to go not after these companies, but partner with these companies and changing their mindset on this intellectual property agreement, which is absolutely foolish, but also to get into the schools and get the teachers to understand, and the principals and the superintendents to understand, that when a kid creates something, the parents should be brought in and they should be taught on what avenue this creation should go into. Should it go into the copyright world? Should it go into the patent world? Should it go into the trademark world? And education should be given to the parent and the child on how this could change their lives forever. This character that the kid created, this storyline that the kid created. Here's something that's inside of what I created with Rocky, in the Rocky, the Lion story. I said, I get younger and older at the same time. I said this in 1982. Okay? So inside of that story, I said, I get younger. This is talking about Rocky the Lion. I get younger and older at the same time. Okay? So how did this kid think of that in 1982? Why didn't somebody see that and understand that this is an IP itself, right? This is an IP. That phrase, I get younger and older at the same time, could have been a lyric, could have been a book, could have been a movie, the story of Benjamin Button, right? So kids are creating things that are being pushed to the side. And I want to end with this, and this is why I bring this up. In 85, whenever I was 8 years old, 82, 85, I created a boxing bag. My dad rubbed me on my head and said, son, if that could be done, Everlast would do it.
Tell him what's
right?
going on now. Tell him. This was this is when you were 8 years old.
8 years old, right? So, and I don't want this to get lost in time, because I had a VC ask me when I told him I created at 8 and I'm 48 now. This is what he said to me, and this is why him and I don't talk to this day. After everything I'm about to tell you, I told him the whole story. So I created it at 8. My mom went out and got me these books. I don't have one up here, but the books were called Growing Up with Science. And it talked, and on the spine it said invention. That's what my mom did for me to try to motivate me to not lose the path that I was on in the 80s
Mm-hmm.
was to think about inventions and learn about inventors. So that's what she could do for me out of her pocket, was to buy these group of encyclopedias for me that I could read. I took that ideal that was a handkerchief that I used that tied these things together. I was punching the handkerchief up in the air. I took the handkerchief and put it in the book, closed it. I never opened it again. I didn't open that book until 2012.
When?
Listen to me. When my mom had passed away, and my grandmother and I were at my mom's house cleaning up. And in that book, I rediscovered that 8-year-old boy's ideal. And in 2014, 2 years after 2012, I immediately began executing on trying to patent this boxing bag that fits in your pocket, that doesn't require water, air, sand to be operable, does not require pulleys, does not require chains, does not require any assembly. You can simply ball it up and put it into your pocket. Take it out of your pocket, throw it up in the air, and the static electricity between you and the boxing bag would keep it afloat. This was this 8-year-old's idea. This was my 8-year-old idea.
Wow.
And after my dad said, when he said, I put it away in the encyclopedias. And when we moved from 13611 Woodworth to my grandmother's, one of my grandmother's rental properties, when we moved there, it sat in that closet because I was done with that world of trying to make that boxing bag come to life, right? But in 2012, my mom passed. I was in a process, and God knew this, I didn't know this. I was in the process of losing myself because in 2010, I lost my brother, grandfather, and father in that order. Right? So in 2012, when I lost my mother, if I didn't have my wife and my kids, I don't know what I would be in, because when my mom passed, to this day, I lost a piece of myself. The little boy that wanted to impress his mother and wanted his mother to be proud had died. Even though it was 2012, I was a grown-ass man. That little boy still had been suffocated. He'd already lost 3 of the men in his life that helped thread him, but now in 2012, on Christmas, he loses his mother. So he's done, right? And I hate to say this, but I can't, at that time, I could not imagine living another day without my mom on this earth.
Sure.
So when my grandmother and I began cleaning out my mother's house on Sundays, and man, God is amazing. Before that, God had me read a book called 72 Sundays. I think it was 72 Sundays. That was written by Billy Crystal, one of my favorite comedians. Mm-hmm. So now in my mind, I'm thinking like, wow, my grandmother and I every Sunday are cleaning out my mother's house. So I'm going to do a story about cleaning my mother's house every Sunday with my grandmother. So right then, that was God giving me another ideal to kind of keep me alive, resuscitate the Albert that he knew was still there. Mm-hmm. And I found this in this book, this kid's invention, this boxing bag that fits in your pocket. So March 20, so after fighting with the patent examiner, even my own attorney, after pushback and pushback, March 23rd of 2023, I received a patent for 20 years and 153 days for something that I created at 8 years old.
Well, and there's a lot going into that now, and people need to stay tuned.
Yes.
For what that's becoming, and I can't wait. And I would love to advertise it on this show. Be an honor.
Absolutely. I
Really
appreciate it.
Really would. I hope people hear that it was an invention of an 8-year-old, 40 years later was discovered. And then what was it? The patent came 10, 12 years after that. People do not be afraid of time. Time's going to come. It's going to happen. Be afraid of what you do or don't do with it. it's such a precious gift, and God knew exactly what you needed when you needed it. Can you imagine? That was, I mean, I know it would have been great if that had been done back then. If your parents knew about IP, I mean, if your parents knew about trademarks and patents and stuff, I knew it would have been great. But wow, what a testimony about the things that we need exactly when we need them.
Exactly when we need them.
Albert, I've interviewed a lot of people doing this show, and Marcus is a mentor of mine, as you know. And I don't want it to get lost that every single one of them have had and have needed a strong spiritual foundation.
Absolutely.
Period.
Period.
And recognizing, the majesty of the one that created everything that lives, breathes, moves, and has its being, and has an interest in one of his creation. If a sparrow falls, he knows. And I can't wait to advertise that punching bag on Work Your Career Wednesday, man.
I appreciate it.
It's coming soon.
Oh, it's very, very soon.
I mean, there's all sorts of stuff around it. I don't want to give it away here, but there's all sorts of stuff that's happening around it.
Yes.
And so it's going to be an honor. Albert, I don't even know. I tell you what, again, you one of the real ones. Period. Full stop.
I appreciate it.
In a fearless way, wanting to change the way IP is addressed, allocation of funds are earned.
Yes.
There's a difference.
Yes.
Are earned, and that is not lost in translation of an idea that has been hijacked.
And I want it to be called the Skillicorn Law after my buddy Douglas E. Skillicorn.
I tell you what, we can get you in contact with some lawmakers. And the one of the great things that gets things moved is public pressure.
Oh yeah.
And
evidence.
So, I mean, do you need it? How much more do you need?
Yeah, and evidence. Yeah.
But Albert, it has been an honor. It's taken a while to get you on the show. And
yes.
Again, God's timing is perfect because it's coming right on time. It's coming right on time. Absolutely. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on, sharing these stories and sharing your opinions fearlessly. Absolutely fearlessly. And it's just an honor. Thank you.
I appreciate it, man. And let's do it again.
Oh, we have to, thank you for that. We have to do it again. We have to do it again. There's so much we didn't even cover, but we have to do it again. Everybody, I don't even want to end it, but you know what? This is just a part one.
That's right.
That's all it is. It's a part one. But I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I know I did. Things don't change unless we change them.
That's it.
Things do not change unless we change them, period. And if we want to be inclusive, we need to be including wealth. And anyway, guys, for everyone at White Husky Films, Jane's Physical Therapy, and so many people that are hitching their wagon to us, and soon, this awesome punching bag, know this. And for Albert Hardin, know this, that we love you and God bless you. And let his face shine upon you and give you great peace. Be excellent to yourself and each other. And watch your IP. All right. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Attention lawyers. Are you tired of wasting thousands of dollars in billboards, magazines, and more with little results? If so, we can help you save big. Did you know that a powerful video can be used on practically any platform and get you more clients than just one billboard alone? Visit our website at whitehuskyfilms.com. Call or text us today to receive a limited time offer. Take advantage of this one while it's here. It won't last long.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Hey, if you like Work Your Career Wednesday and want to be notified every single time we have a new episode, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Smash it. Get a hammer and get it. And
Yeah, that's fine.
too much?
No, that's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I love it. People want.
Do you hear Steven in the background? I was just making sure I'm going to be okay. But get that notification going. And hey, we will be letting you know, or I guess YouTube will be letting you know, when the next Work Your Career Wednesday is on. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Man, ding it, ring it, sling it, and bing it. All right? And we will see you soon. Work Your Career Wednesday. Oh, great. I'm glad you stopped by. Be sure to get that subscription bell, and I'll see you there.